Good morning. Since we have the distance, I'll remove this.
Perfect.
Good morning, and I hope every Ugandan is okay. Today is an important day. We should make every Ugandan happy. We tend to be talking about mourning. We are permanently mourning as Ugandans. I think we should stop mourning and say, our country is a beautiful country, and God has blessed us, and therefore pray for everybody to be all right.
Yes.
Now, the majority of people are actually looking for happiness. They're looking for where they work, what they do in their business, what we are doing here right now.
Very
I think
true.
we should always make even these programs happier programs.
Perfect. And it's a morning time. Someone wants to go out there.
And somebody who's watching us, whether in the office, whether at home, he should be watching people who are talking about something he will understand. You talked about opening the economy, for example. Yes, that's very important for our country. Our country is driven on certain wheels, and one of the wheels is the economy of the country. And economy is the management of scarce resources. Politics is the management of society. So you have two things. Are we managing our society correctly? Do we have this shock of the disease which brought about the 2 years of lockdown and therefore a shock to our economy? How much of that shock could we absorb, and how much of that should we therefore think about trying to catch up? Because we are on catch up now, what we've lost in 2 years. Whenever you lose time in the economy, it affects you. And we have a lot of problems. Now, opening the economy means a lot of things. Are you just opening for the sake of opening, or are you also going to help those who have suffered during this economy? And that's why I said, can we make our people happy? Can the government talk about relief? You know, people tend to think it is only Uganda that is having this problem. This is an international issue. A few years back, I think in the United States, when the American economy went on slump and all the banks and everything went, the government of the United States came out and actually went into these different sectors, and they sort of helped them to come up. The motor industry, the banking sector. This was brought about by the housing sector in the United States because of their system. So it is important that we realize that this disease has affected our economy, especially the small businesses that did not have the anchor, enough roots to stay afloat. A lot of them have closed down, but of course the experts will tell you that some of these businesses were standing on very flimsy grounds and eventually, of course, will disappear. And during the formation or the startup of these businesses, they actually tell you that some of them will survive and some of them will not survive. So the important thing, those which survive and which are important and which are strategic to our country, how do we help them? Now, I saw somewhere in the newspaper that they are going to try and give small businesses 10% loans to start their business. But loans should not be given for the sake of giving loans. It's the same as microfinance in this country. People feel that microfinance is a big thing, but no. Why do you start microfinancing for? Do I give you money because you put on a nice suit or because you speak very well? No, you should give me money because I'm going to use it to make money.
True.
If I can't make money with that money you're lending to me, then you are giving it to me just for consumption. And a lot of people think some of these microfinance things that were made, Myoga and going backwards to Bonabagagawa, these were gifts from government for elections. So we must understand what microfinancing is. I have a very good example and a case study where ladies in this town were borrowing money from one NGO to another. So would borrow one NGO, get some little money. When it was time to pay, they would go to another one to pay the
the loan.
And then this went on, and most of them eventually had a lot of problems. Now, these are the kind of things you've got to think about. So small business enterprise, what do we do about it? How do we help them? Now, in the United States and in Britain, they've had studies on small businesses. And they actually came up, like in the United States, they have the Small Business Bureau. Agency is SBA. Here in Britain, it's a technical group. And here we also have a Ministry of Industry, and they have a group that can help. How do we go about this? And I think in our planning, in the planning of this country, which I think is lagging behind the development, because development seems to have taken on an auto move. It's moving by itself.
Yeah.
Do we catch up with the development so that we can have, so that it is moving on the same
pace?
Speed with the development.
Yeah.
Now, development, the reason I'm saying that development seems to have left us. You go and look at the way people are building houses. You know, my home is on Masaka Road, where I was born, and there's a place called Nsanje, a beautiful hill there. Some years ago when I was a kid, there was nothing on that hill except a few trees. Today, there are so many houses, totally unplanned, and therefore the development there has gone, and the physical planning is way behind. So I wanted to give you an example. Yeah. Now, this goes also for planning of the city, the planning of our businesses, in everything that we're doing. The management of our society lacks quite a little bit. And it's not an individual. It is something that has come over a period of time. It's not something that started yesterday. We were so busy trying to put the political question right. And therefore, our economy and many things, the people were so busy trying to control the economy so that we don't sleep. But then the planning and development, the development was moving even faster. We've never caught it. It's like we are chasing the changes in the world. And therefore, these problems we are facing. And then if we get a shock, like the pandemic, then it affects our economy. Therefore, when the president says, I'm going to open the economy after 2 years of trying to experiment, finding out how do we fight this disease. And by the way, I don't think people should blame the government. What the government was doing, this was a new disease. We didn't know about it. Yeah. And even the developed countries were having problems with it. Therefore, the only way we could do was to take the simple measures that are within our power to try and find out how far this disease could affect our country. And over a period of time, over 2 years, we have now understood that if we do certain things in a certain way, we'll be able to keep away from this disease, at the same time continue with the economy. It has eventually affected our economy, it has affected our people, and we are a completely different group of people now. So we need to think twice. What do we do? Our banks, our whatnot, everybody has to go back and sit down and say, what do we do to recover from this problem? And I think this is where there was the disease, there was the economy. How do we bring them together, and how do we move forward? We cannot sit there forever mourning over what has happened.
Definitely. You've talked about SMEs as some of the businesses that have been majorly been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We saw vendors being chased off the streets. How are these people going to survive, you think?
Well, I think let's first answer one question. What sort of city do you want? If you create a city like Kampala, how do you want Kampala to look? I think once you've answered that question, then you come to that that point of the
how to help the vendors.
Yes, and then you go and say, we have which are the best cities in the world? We have cities like Singapore, Edinburgh. We have cities in America which are thought to be one of the most beautiful cities in the world. What do they do to have these cities? And therefore, you come back and say, Kampala, with its beautiful landscape, it's got beautiful hills, it's got a beautiful background. What do we do to make our city a city that we want? A city, we're a touristic country. How do we make people come to this country? How do we like our own city? The word I started with happiness. How do we make Kampala make us happy? So the question is, because I've had some people who want political visibility saying there's no law which says you should remove vendors from the street. Therefore, the next question will be, is there a law which allows you to put vendors on the street? So, I mean, this is a chicken and egg situation. Do we want a good city? And if we do, how do we reorganize it? Have we managed it well? Did it start yesterday? How long has it been going on? We have another issue. We have the rural-urban migration. We have the population increasing. We have a young population. We have unemployment. We have poverty. And therefore, when you sit down and you're planning for this city, these are the kind of things are going to be on your table before you make a decision. Now, if the authority has made a decision that for the short term, they must remove these people from the street and take them to the markets, that is a question that we must ask. Is the decision correct? Is the decision correct? Now, whether correct or not, how do you want your city to look like? And how do you control these vendors?
Yes.
Now, with our rural-urban migration at an increase, and with a lot of our unplanned settlements in our cities, what you people call ghettos or slums or different names are given to this, where you have congestion and high density. There are ways of looking for employment. What sort of employment can we provide?
Yeah.
Schools. And can our authorities do this? Yes, we can. For example, I am told the markets, some of them, these people don't want to stay in the markets, like Wandegea market, for example. I'm told there are people who are trying to stop people from working there. There are all sorts of little issues that can be solved very easily. How do we make it comfortable for these people to go into the markets and work without making it difficult for them? How many can we handle? Okay, they are looking for employment, but how many people can be in vending and how many people can be in hawking? These are questions we should be able to answer. How many people can be in a particular industry? And why are these people skirting around? The reason they are skirting around, they are looking for political visibility, which unfortunately is not going to help us in trying to make the cities work. Cities require certain planning. Like I told you, development seems to be moving faster than planning. The city council, when I was there, which is now the authority, actually even borrowed money to do the plan of Kampala. They also have a physical plan for Kampala. Now, if they have all these things, how do they put them into being? Where do they get the resources from? Because they need resources to do that. And the other point, oh, you know, if we put these people on the street, we'll get taxes. To who? Because the people have been collecting money from these people, it doesn't go to the authority. It goes in people's pockets. And we know who are collecting this money. So the next question would be, how do we handle it? I think that's the question. We should have a short-term plan, medium and long-term plan, and make sure that our Ugandans, because Kampala is the city for all Ugandans, you cannot stop them coming here. How do we make it comfortable for people who come to this city to try and find ways and means of living? And at the same time, the government must develop the rural area so that people do not have the urge
to live in the city.
To live in the city.
Captain, you've talked about three things that have caught my attention. The lack of planning.
Yes.
Cheap politicking tactics that are being applied by some of these political leaders, and also simply that we are lagging behind. Now, do you think politics is superseding development and planning, that all these people we have in these positions who are supposed to plan for the city? You mentioned something very interesting about the fact that people in the rural areas are forced to come to the city because basically they're looking for something to put in the pocket. I look at the railway as an option of where if I'm able to get on the train for 1 hour, 30 minutes, I live in Jinja and I can come to Kampala in 30 minutes, I'm here. I work by 6, get on the train, 1 hour, I'm back in Jinja. But that has not been happening. And we've had these forced starts of, we want a smart city, we want this, and then it doesn't happen. What is the actual problem? Where are we going wrong?
You remind me of this man, Professor Lumumba, the Kenyan professor.
Yes.
Who is an inspirational speaker. He made a statement. He said, the people, young people, Ugandans, he was here actually, they've got this bubbling mind. They've got all these very good ideas, but they don't have power to put them into being. A few minutes ago, you're giving us a fantastic perception. I have been, for years, saying that we can have Larry between Jinja and here, between Bujuko and here, on the existing lane, without building a new one, using it for morning for transportation of workers into Kampala.
True.
And it would change
so much
traffic. So your point is taken very seriously. And this is what you don't have the power to put it in force. Now, I'm not saying they are totally lacking of planning. No, the planning is there. But is the planning fast enough to keep up with the development? I think we should get. I don't want anybody to feel we're not talking about the truth. The truth is there is planning, but if the development is faster, our population is increasing, our rural-urban migration is increasing. We have a lot of young, educated people. We have more universities now, and these people are looking for employment. We have young people who are looking for jobs. It is a very interesting time. We don't need the mediocres. We need experts now to try and put this into effect. And what you're saying is true. The survey, the human resources survey, what have they found out? You know, you're supposed to survey how many people don't have jobs.
Yeah.
Now, it is not only Uganda that has this problem. It is all over the world. Even the Americans who are very rich, the British and everybody. Unemployment is there. The question is, how do you plan for it? Whilst our British people can give their unemployed people money to live on, we don't have that kind of resource for a welfare society.
Yeah.
Therefore, we have a situation where we must sit down and really carry out management in the fast lane. We're still in the slow lane. But this thing is moving faster than us. And therefore, if you took a SWOT analysis, our strengths, our weaknesses, and our opportunities, and the threats, you will find that we have certain weaknesses. And we waste so much time hating each other. And by the hatred in our politics is absolutely disgusting. There's no need to hate each other. We need just to find solutions to our problems. And once you find solutions, the politics will fall into this place.
Captain, are you saying our weaknesses are greater than the strengths?
Yes.
What can be done? Because so many times we have these conversations, politicians come out, say all these beautiful lines. We are going to do this, we are going to do that. But over the years, 10 years down the road, nothing happens.
Unfortunately, Segawa, this is natural. You know, when a kid is born, they cannot see it. You have to hold them, then they see it, then they start crawling, then they start walking. Our politicians, I think, have not even started crawling.
Well,
we are permanently looking for visibility.
Yeah.
I must be known. I want to be president. It's not that. The point is, I want you to be president because you've got...
you're working.
Yeah, no. You've got what it takes to be a leader. You know, you've got the aura of being a leader. No, not that I must be. Not that I must force. No. Come out. Let's build this country together. Yeah. Let's respect each other. We have differences. We are bound to have differences. Even twins have
differences. Yes.
So these differences are what forms the parties, the different parties. Let's use the party correctly. I'm sorry to say that up to now, we have failed to work in the multi-party dispensation. The ones we have here are hatred. I don't like you. You beat me last night. You know, you're such a nasty guy.
Yeah.
There's no need for all this. We need to look at ourselves. What is it that I want for myself? What is it that I want for our city? What is it that I want for our country?
How can we move forward?
How can we move? And I think enough is enough. I think yesterday, when the 27 people many years ago came out with some sort of a revolution, yesterday would have been a point to say, did those, the aim and the sacrifices those young people took, have we achieved it? Or have we hijacked it? So these are the kind of questions you should be asking. You know, not hating each other. There's no need. And I hear people are being taken to prison. I hear somebody is fighting against making the city clean. I mean, there's no need for all this. What we need to do, We need leaders who can show us what we should do and how we can work together by listening to each other and then trying to see how far we can get. Many years ago, Mukulu, the dramatic writer, had a play in
National Theatre.
National Theatre, and said the trouble with the African leaders, they have no ears. And people complained about it. But the question is, was he wrong? So these are the kind of questions that we should be asking and trying to find solutions. But we can do it. That's what's hurting me. We have the ability to make this thing, all these things work.
Are politicians and the policy makers, are they simply self-centered and only thinking about what benefits them, or are they just turning a blind eye and deaf ear to all these complaints and the needs of the citizens?
I think we misuse even these words. What is a politician? What's a leader? And what is politics? We also misuse these things. Opportunists are being called politicians.
Well.
I think what we need to do is, who is a leader?
Yes.
And then let's get the true definition of it. Is somebody who's got the knack and who's got the ability to lead others. Even cows, when they are going to drink water, there's a cow that leads.
That's leading the pack.
So if we as human beings cannot say, this man is the leader, then we are having a lot of problems. A leader is not supposed to be somebody who comes and dances on the stage and kneels on the stage and removes his shirt and lies about somebody else and comes with the propaganda. That is not, that's, people call it politics, but it's not. That is opportunism to try and achieve what you are not able to achieve.
How have we cultivated this culture of having leaders, pseudo-leaders, if I may say, that we let it be?
We have never understood politics. Simple. The British came here for 70 years. They ruled us out of London. They never taught us modern democracy. Their culture is the basis of their politics. Our culture is not the basis of our politics. Our culture was different. They ruled through our kings. And when they were going, they wanted our kings removed so that we could go democratic with the Republicans. Now, all these things we need to go back and review. Uganda is not a one country. They put people together and came out with the border and came out with Uganda. The question now is, are we united? And the next question is, do we have national value, a Ugandan value? So these are the kind of things we should be talking about. And people who are really good leaders should help us to unite this country. At the same time, get our culture and look for the common denominator, use it to make this country. People talk about tribalism. Tribes can be used to unite this country if you use them very well.
Yes.
Yesterday I was very hurt when the chief of the TESO passed on. A very nice man. I talked to him once. Brilliant fellow. And as far as I'm concerned, these are the kind of people, these cultural institutions, that could be used to unite this country if you did it well. They have the balance of being able to put all the countries together. So these, in my sincere opinion, we need somebody who can unite this country. Once you've united it, you create programs that make people happy. Right? The social economic programs are extremely important. Whilst you build the country. You see, you're talking about capitalism, you're talking about socio-economic programs. You need to sit down and balance them. And this is where the problem is. The economy of this country can be good.
ate nga biyamba ffe nakino ekyobuyonjo kusuula bintu mu mwala kwonoona nguudo kyandibadde kiri ku bakulembeze nti batufosinga eno manti kati nkoze ekintu bwe kiti nkikoledde mu bukyamu ngenda kusibwa oba ngenda kuwengasibwa eti.
Best way to be accountable to your country, follow these documents.
We have been here, we're back again, stronger, bigger and better. Join us every Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. as we discuss matters of patriotism here on NTV.
watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning and welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Idris Matusegawa. Now, right before the break, we were talking about how you at home can use the opportunity that the economy has been reopened. What's next? How can the government help you to improve your small business? But I've been joined by Hassan Kaps Fungaru, former MP Obonji County, who is going to discuss more topics right here at Morning at NTV. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
How was the journey?
Tough. There was a lot of problem, traffic jam.
Yeah.
A journey which estimated to take me less than 30 minutes took me more than 1.5 hours.
1.5 hours. Do you think this is because the economy has been reopened?
I think so, because the number of vehicles I saw on the road, the motorcycles, small and big trucks, indicated that many more people have come on the road.
Is this a problem or is it good for the country?
Okay, people being more is good, but the traffic jam is not good. That is mainly from the problem of design of the infrastructure, the nature of the roads. For example, around the Kawempe, I live in Matuga, and around Kawempe there was a truck which was trying to turn around, but it blocked the road. So heavy trucks of the kind, especially moving long distances, need to be provided with a separate route, as opposed to the one people use within the city.
Okay.
So that is a problem of design and planning, and the city of Kampala need to deal with this, and the government entirely need to deal with this. That's why many people lose time as they go to work. But otherwise, being many on the road is a good thing.
Well, before you joined us, the captain talked about the lack of planning, which you have reiterated a little bit on. But what is to be done? MPs sit in Parliament, discuss the way forward for the country, but always we go back to the same conversation. What should be done going forward?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to speak from the perspective of the Forum for Democratic Change, an organization that I speak for as the National Secretary for Mobilization and Organization of the FDC. We have, as FDC, made the propositions to people of Uganda that have got to do with the planning, with the budgeting. These are in our manifestos and in different documents, including the party platform.
Yeah.
Now, two things. We have been moving across the country, and this is a common problem. Right now, FDC has a program of post-election organizational performance assessment and audit, which takes us across the country. So what I'm talking about here is not limited to Kampala. It also goes to other major cities of Uganda. Recently we are from the west, and we went also to the east. Now, the problem is this. The NRM government, as it is today, promised to people certain things to do. People have been waiting and watching these things be done. They have not been done, and people are disappointed. One of which is to do with the element of planning. One for the new cities like Arua City, Soroti City, Mbarara City, you find this problem of planning is made worse because of lack of resources which have been provided to the new cities. Many of these new cities are still operating using the financial framework, using the budget which was intended for municipalities, the municipalities that preceded the cities. So planning is also affected by implementation of the plans in terms of resources not being provided adequately to make sure that the cities do have enough resources to meet their needs. This is one challenge which we have with the new cities. And the other problem is that the roads which are made don't last. Even like for Kampala here, some of the roads which are bad today have been worked on of recent. Now, today it is very hard to find a durable project properly done by the government because of the problem of corruption. You find a road planned to have a thickness of like maybe 5 inches.
5 inches.
You find 2-3 inches are eaten by corrupt people. This one bribe here. Contractors actually work for people who are in the different segments of government. At the end of the day, when he or she takes off part of the thing called the profit, because that is the purpose for which a business company under which a contractor operates is created, and at the end of the day, what actually goes to the work becomes 1 inch. There are many potholes which come from time to time as a result of shoddy work. Engineers are forced to approve things which are supposed to be disapproved. They sign off that yes, this contractor has done the work, you pay him or pay her. At the end of the day, we have shoddy and shoddy works. So for us as FDC, we would like to solve these problems by making sure that we fight against corruption and make sure that when you are given work, there must be value for money and the project must last for some time. This is one of the things. Unfortunately, this government of NRM is tired, and President Museveni himself is a promoter of corruption. He creates institutions, his government creates institutions to fight against corruption, but also he fights against these institutions. There was a good person of ours, now she's in the government, called Betty Kamya Olive, Honorable. She has been put in a bad department to fight against corruption. When she carried our values as FDC there and tried to implement them with the sincerity of FDC, even though she's now in NRM, by saying, okay, do this thing called the lifestyle audit. In a public meeting on television, President Museveni told, hey, don't go slow on this one, which means the thing of fighting against corruption should not be done. They're saying, don't fight against corruption. As long as people who steal government money, people who steal money, steal government money. As long as they also steal and invest in Uganda. That was the statement from the president. Now, for us as FDC, we don't do like that. Good is good and bad is bad. So Ugandans should bear this. We are coming. FDC is coming. We are reorganizing ourselves. FDC is alive in all corners of Uganda, and I would like to thank our people from Western Uganda who received us, where we were there for 8 days in this program. So this is the problem we have.
Mr. Fungaro, you've cited corruption as one of the problems that is impeding development in the country.
Yes.
What is stopping you from fighting it as FDC and also as an MP?
Yeah, you see, the problem is this. Human rights and the law are just principles. The law against corruption, Ugandans have the right to good services, but there must be some element of enforcement. Enforcement. The enforcement is not in our hands. The enforcement institutions, like the police, like the judiciary, like these other institutions of law and order in the law and order sector, are controlled by the regime in power. Now, if you look at a serving official like the IGG, our own then Honorable Olive Kamya Betty, saying this is bad, let us check against it, let us do lifestyle audit. Where does so and so get this wealth, which is not commensurate with his or her earnings? You have all things beyond your income, where you live, what you drive, where your children go to school, where you go for medical care. Many of these government officials have written off our own hospitals in Uganda. They don't go to Mulago National Referral Hospital when they are sick. They go to India, they go to USA. Because they know Mulago has been robbed off of what is supposed to be there, our national referral hospital. They cannot go to Arua regional referral hospital, our own, from the Western point of view. But the problem is, much as we talk about these things, the power to enforce is with the state, and the principal, who is His Excellency the President, has some kind of glove hands to say, okay, if you steal government money, you invest in Uganda, it's okay. It is a problem. Secondly, the other problem is that many Ugandans seem to have given up in the fight. They say, this guy here. I don't care, let him steal, let them steal. That's where the problem is. So for us as FDC, first we want to give people hope that don't give up. Continue with the fight. We are here. That's why we would like to encourage Ugandans to have hope, not to give up. This is our country. We should not surrender it and give it up to President Museveni and his bunch of tired people and the promoters of corruption. When Uganda as a country is getting rotten and rotten, that's where the problem is. So we would like to give the people of Uganda hope that not all is lost. There is still some hope. We should work to reclaim our country and redirect it. That's why we as FDC are focusing on the issue of governance first. Leave other things. Governance first. If the governance is wrong, everything will go wrong.
Captain,
Yes, sir.
is there a light at the end of the tunnel, or is self-cannibalism going to eat us whole?
I like the word cannibalism. Frankly speaking, the management of our society has had its weaknesses. And the weaknesses are many. But first and foremost, our political management is also poor. It doesn't matter who is talking. I hear people say all sorts of good things. But every time they get into the management of it, they don't do it well. So it is easier to speak. I can do this, I can do that. But when you are in it, it becomes a little bit different. It is not, this does not mean that government does not have, let's put the politics on a little bit on the side. Let's go into the government itself, how it works. Infrastructure development, the priorities of that, for example.
Yeah.
Is it correct? Are we build a road where nobody is moving on that road, and then we leave a place where people are congested. We don't build the road. So I'm giving you an example of a priority.
Yes.
Now, Kampala was designed many years ago for about 200,000 people. Today we are talking about nearly 4 million people coming into the city. The question is, how come we did not catch up with that one? Now, to be able to know that we've got 4 million people, which is the statistics, how do we move into the first lane to accommodate the 4 million people? So we need people in development, not people who are just putting it on paper. Oh, we must have a road coming from Matuga to Kampala, a flyover with the 6 lanes. We need people who are seriously sit down and planning, physical planning in that case, for infrastructure. Do we have also the resources? Because that's also a weakness. How much resources do we have? Most of our roads, unfortunately, have been built on loans. Loans from the multilateral organizations. Second, the development we've also tried to go into infrastructure. The question would be, you're going into infrastructure with the resources you have. Where is your priority? I take a road, I'm going to make a road because I want a political visibility. I go to a place and put a road there, and I don't do the Matuga-Kampala road, for example. So what is my priority like? How am I managing even the little resources that I have? Because I'm told the economy is managing scarce resources. And Uganda has scarce resources, no matter what you say. Now, then we put on the politics, our division in politics, our differences in politics. Our division in politics is taken a little bit too far. Because for the good of this country, regardless of what party you are in, you want a road, whether you like it or not.
You need it.
The question is, do we work together to get that road? So, scarce resources, Kampala City physical planning, very well what I told you where we are. The priority of our development, how do we develop? I think it's also very important. There is some sort of development, but how are we spreading it out? Then we have this political visibility. This one becomes a city, that one becomes a city. Are we really serious about this? With the city we have, we're not even developing it. And then we are forming cities left, right, and center.
Now, there's something, just some information on this.
Let me finish, please. Now, we need also to be very careful in the things that we do. Because as far as I'm concerned, the weaknesses is in our political leadership. It's weak. Whether which party or which party, we have failed to give solutions to our problems. And this is where I'm not very convinced by anybody. We have a problem, first and foremost, to agree that our differences, we make our differences become our political topic. I don't like that, man. There's hatred in politics.
That shouldn't be the issue.
That should not be the issue. The issue should be, how do we move Uganda forward with the scarce resources that we have and make sure that the priorities are correct.
Mr. Bongo.
Yes, you see, the problem is planning. It's not that everybody is the same. You give us as FDC the opportunity and see what we are going to do. Even this one, the NRM government has refused. When we go for elections, the winner is robbed in broad daylight. Now, first come to this problem of the city. It's a problem of this NRM government. Museveni has been in power coming now to 40 years, and my senior brother, you know, has been part of this system. One time he was even a manager of this city. Now, solving this problem of Kampala, the congestion cannot be done by chasing away, beating the vendors here. You need to attract them outside the city. And the vendors go where money is. Money is from the, if you look at the government and the different sectors of the economy, the biggest spenders of government, of money, are people who are in the public service. Now, where are they? They are here. Government offices are here. Who put the government offices here? It is the same people. The colonial government started from Entebbe. And they shifted here. Why did they shift? Because they saw that Entebbe is limited. The lake is there, the airport is there. You cannot put these things there at that time. That was they shifted here. Yeah. President Idi Amin, His Excellency, Field Marshal Idi Amin, much as some people abuse him that he is illiterate, he was illiterate, what, thought about relocating the city of Kampala to Nakasongola. Why? Because this place was congested. Now, this government of President Museveni here, much as the abuse Amin, they should have copied from this. Even if it was not that they should relocate the city up to Nakasongola, why don't they put some of this infrastructure which they are putting here now in a place like Matuga? Matuga, they should have put it there. The hub of transportation, for example, the bus terminal, international bus terminal, and all these things were talked about, but they have not been implemented.
Mr. Fungaro, are you saying there is lack of inclusion in distribution of infrastructure and development?
No, even for the city of Kampala, planning, for example, look where we are seated here now. There are big buildings of government which should have been put outside. And they started, this would have marked the relocation of the city, attracting some activities at the other side. Vendors will go sell their tomatoes, their oranges to people who are passing. For example, office of the Prime Minister was built here, these big complexes, and accommodating many government offices here. This would have been relocated slightly outside. There is a new parliament which is being built, squeezed. I can say this. They're squeezing a new parliament here. This new parliament should have been built slightly outside. There are these hotels. They broke a school here. This school is called Simon. There was a school here, primary school. They have put a hotel here. Why didn't they put this hotel slightly outside? This is the problem, where we see a problem of lack of vision from the people who claim to have vision. They don't have vision. They don't see where Uganda is going to be 20, 50 years, 100 years from now. That's why they are congesting themselves here and they are leaving other places outside. These vendors should not have been beaten like goats, like the way you see them here. They should have been attracted to go outside. When these government officials relocate somewhere, when parliament is relocated somewhere, there will be some element of business somewhere also outside. Not people. All people, if you see now, if you climb up and you have eyes seeing Kampala, vehicles are facing towards the center of the city. People are going to work in the same place. You see very few people going outside the city to work. Now, when it is time for evening, people are also going out of the city like this. You see, in some cities, you find people going this way to work, others are going that way to work, industries. Now, industries are also congested here in Kampala. Who brought this problem here? We should have created some element of distribution of human concentration of population to work. And this is a deliberate thing which comes from policy and implementation. That's where the NRM government has failed.
Mr. Fungaru,
Yes.
before you joined the conversation,
Yes.
Captain Francis mentioned that there are some political figures who are more interested in seeking attention than actually providing solutions. What you as FTC, what do you propose needs to be done? Because you call the people who are in power visionless,
Yes.
but they are the ones in power.
Yes.
What do you provide as a solution?
There are many things we provided, and when they see that those things are good, they take them and try to implement them, but in trying to implement them, they implement them poorly. Let me start from this thing of the recent time people are coming out of this COVID-19.
Yeah.
It was the FDC that proposed that, you see, because of the limitations, the locks here and there of the economy, people are not working. There is a need for some money to be given to people to absorb the shocks. And the government, we proposed to give 100,000 per month or something around there for those people like borders. It is those who are working, who are not working and earning well. Okay, government took up this thing, but instead of giving money to the people who are entitled to do so, they started giving money to their relative friends and in-laws. You remember the case from Gulu, where they announced on TV that we have given money to so and so. At the end of the day, the person was proven to be a wrong one. You see this? So even if you have good ideas and the people who are implementing are wrong ones, the good ideas will not work. So for me, right now, the Ugandans should focus on the issue of changing this government and putting in place a new one. Even if it is not as FDC, try to put a new, because these people now, right now, all are seeing that this government of President Museveni is about to end. Now, those who are in government are packing their bags, and in the process of packing bags, they put in public resources for the life of the hereafter. They think if a new government comes in, a new president comes in, this person will come with a new set of people to work in the government. That's why today there is more corruption in the government than it was at the beginning. In the middle, if you put in a graph, you find corruption is going up like this, because people see that this government of President Museveni is about to come to an end. If I go to my work through these connections of relative friends and in-laws, President Museveni goes away and a new president comes, where will I be? Let me steal now. That's why corruption is now organized. It's an organized crime. That's the problem. And they allocate roads, the road project, by the way, even so in Parliament. These things coming, they say, the other time you missed it. Now you wait for the Karuma Dam. Yours is the other one. They say this project of Kampala. That's where allocations are done like this.
Captain,
government officials are allocated where to steal from.
So many accusations. Is Uganda ripe for new governance?
Mr. Segawa, if you want us to talk about corruption, make it a topic.
Yeah.
And we come and talk about corruption. But if we are talking about what is going on, Mr. Fungaru has got his views.
Yeah.
And you must respect them. That's the way he sees. That's what his lenses are telling him. What I'm telling him, there is more to this than what the eye catches.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say much about political differences. Me, I am interested in your question about how do we
move
get
forward
out of this problem. Regardless who is in power, we need to look to focus very seriously on physical planning and development. We cannot, and I can assure you, we cannot continue on these simple things, simple minds, because you want visibility. No. We want to look at our resources, look at our planning, because you'll be very surprised. That city council you're talking about has got money from the World Bank and the experts. They've done planning, it is on the table, city planning. They've got physical planning on the table, but they have not been able to implement most of it.
Why?
I'll give you an example. The drainage alone of Kampala city is a big problem. You need a huge sum of money to have drainage of this town. Now, to blame all the time is good. But also, I don't want to go into that one because I'm not an expert in investigative machinery to know who is who. All I know is that we have weaknesses. And one of the weaknesses, as I told you earlier on, was corruption, isn't it? But corruption is a very wide subject.
We shall discuss the objectives of the Global Disability Summit and the recommendations, commitments from the first ever post-National Inclusive Education Symposium held in Kampala last year. Watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning and welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Idris Matusegawa, and if you want to be part of the conversation, look out for us on our social media platforms, that is YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Type in NTV Uganda or myself, Idris Matusegawa, and share your opinions. Now, 37.95% of all reported violations in a 2015 report by the Uganda Human Rights Commission stated that torture took the biggest chunk of that in Uganda. And in last week, we saw pictures of writer Kankweza's body as he narrated his ordeal at the hands of security, where he says he was tortured, he was beaten, coerced, and so many things happened to him that up to now his health is in balance. And I'll come to you, Mr. Fungaru.
Yes.
How did we get to this place where our security forces can go away with this?
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother and the listeners outside there. Salute my elder here too. You see, this issue of human rights has been in the question of Uganda, the question of governance for a long time, starting from as far back as before the NRM government came to power in say 1971 and 72, when the President Idi Amin came to power. We hear from the NRM people that the bad governments are those of the past. They abused so many human rights so much to the extent that they had to be removed by force of arms. That is why today, as we wake up, we came from a celebration of Tariq Sita, a day on which rebels launched their operation. Unfortunately, up to today, we are still celebrating rebel activity as a way of solving problems. Now, the problem is what the NRA promised Ugandans. What we can briefly call the 10-point programs included democracy and respect of human rights. Today, if you narrow down to these elements, they are gone. The brother, and by the way, a member of ours, the writer you are talking about here, Kankweza, is affiliated, associated with the FDC. He wrote something. If that thing is bad, it needed to be answered with the right one through writing, because it is provided for in our constitution, the issue of human rights. Under chapter 4 of our constitution, if you go to the issue of Bill of Rights, there is freedom of expression. Expression can be in writing, can be through speech, but these things have gone. There are other people who have suffered silently, at least for the prominent people like a writer like this. It is brought to the public domain and debated like this. But there are many cases of torture, of human rights abuses, which take place and they go unnoticed. Recently, we came from our national program of post-election performance assessment of the party and audit. We were in Western Uganda. And looking at elections, I would like to draw your attention to that side of human rights abuses also. There are people who are rotting. There are people who are tortured in Western Uganda, and their issues are not brought out like this during the times of elections, for example. We found cries from the districts of Isingiro and Kazo, Rwampara, Intungamo, those places where the family, relatives and friends of the president, the first family come from, either from the side of the president or the side of the first lady. People there are crying, actually, they don't have the right to vote. We are told that you go to the polling station, By around 11, voting is over. And there, whether you are NRM or not, if you are not approved by the big shots, most of who are military men, and they have money, and they have connections to the first family, you cannot pass as a candidate. You cannot be pronounced as the winner in the elections. If you are an opposition candidate, like the ones we have had in the district like Kiruhura, the district like Ishingro, if you challenge those things, you are kidnapped. You are kept in a safe house, tortured, and thrown away. So this is where
individuals come out to evidence this.
Yes. We have testimonies which are recorded on camera. We have cases which are reported to the Uganda Human Rights Commission.
Okay.
That is the documentation center for abuses of human rights. Even in my own case from Obongi constituency, we saw soldiers coming, beating up people. I was arrested, tortured, left, right, and center. We did not see that as an election. It was like a military operation all over the country. Now the problem is these military celebrations of yesterday. That you were celebrated for what? UPDF was supposed to have been a national army, separate from NRM. If you want to give a day for celebration for issues of the military, let it be for UPDF, not for a rebel army. NRA should be different from UPDF. NRA was a rebel group. UPDF should be a national army. There must be a detachment between the UPDF and the NRA. If you are still celebrating rebellion, why are you fighting against the ADF? Or why are you fighting against the other future rebels? Human rights abuses are still there in our country. Many people, for example, from the side of West Nile, have lost eyesight, they have become permanently deformed. I have in my constituency somebody called Kelil Asraf. He was tortured worse than this one over Kwankwenza. There are permanent scars on his back. He lives in Palorinya sub-county. You go to Arua, there are people. There was one called Aila. He was the officer ascendant of FDC. They were arrested from Arua. Like 3 or 4 people, they were put in boots of vehicles, transported around, tortured. At the end of the day, we came and found him at Kireka. Today, Aila doesn't see well. He has lost his eyesight because of the torture. There are many people who have got deformities. Now, the question here is, in most of these torture cases, human rights abuses, you hear names of soldiers. And you don't see the army punishing them. President Museveni and his group say the NRA was a discipline in the army. People who abuse human rights were punished in the bush. They were fire escorted in the bush. But today, those who are cited for human rights abuses are walking free. This case of Akankwenza here, he was accused of making a statement, just a statement about General Muhoozi. Now, if the statement was wrong, it should have been answered with the right statement in writing, and that would have been enough. But he was tortured. Again, he's the one who is paraded in the courts of law to be prosecuted. The ones who tortured him are not being prosecuted. Now, there are 2 wrongs here. If the statement which was made by our man was wrong, and he should face court because of that, what about the torture? What about the human rights abuses meted on him? Are those ones right? Is there anyone who is being prosecuted even by the army for the torture our man went through?
And
nobody. Now, let me also give you this. From the Singiro point of view, where we went and voted here, the names of people who are cited there were also soldiers. There is this one here. For our record,
but the proprietors?
No, these are the ones who were abused. I want to give you the names of the soldiers who are involved in the human rights abuses, beating people, arresting people, harassing people during the...
And these were given by
leaders of FDC, and they are on camera. If you want evidence, we can give it to you. Okay, this is the subject to investigation. You can also go and investigate. For example, there is a major called Roa Kanuma Stephen Mota Bingwa, a major of the UPDF. He's one person who has been cited. He comes from a single source. There is the General Abel Kando. Also there, people there know what he did during the campaigns, and then also Major Bright Roy Marama. We've been in parliament together. These are major officers of the army.
Yeah.
You see? Now, the ordinary people down there live like prisoners. These are untouchables. You cannot talk about them. Nobody has brought them to book. For us, as FDC, we are preparing to take this report to the ICC. So I would like to assure the people of Isingiro district, the people of Western Uganda, that in this position that I have as Secretary for Mobilization and the Organization of the party, I look at Uganda, we look at Uganda from Kisoro to Kidigum, and from Busia to Bundubujo. Anything like human rights abuses, FDC has structures, and the good thing is FDC has people all across the country. FDC is not a district party or a regional party. It is a national party with the structures of communication, of getting data. What we are doing is to empower our people to capture and document and provide evidences to a central point at Najana and Kumbi, so that we can provide data and concrete evidence to say, go to the ICC, go to this court, the East African Court of Justice, for example. We have people of Kasese. There is a case in point here which has been reported to the ICC when the massacres took place in the palace of the king of the people of Kasese and the Rwenzori region. And we need that kind of thing. Even if nothing is done about it for now, given the fact that maybe the NRM government has a network of wrongdoers, there is a cartel within and outside. They have people to defend them. Even they come to hear the TV, they go to different radios and try to sanitize the wrongdoings of the open one, like this one of the right here, Kankweza here. So we say, wait, get these things, document them, and we shall get the right time to handle these people one by one. These people who are terrorizing our people in Ruakitura, in Isingiro, in Kazo, in all those districts will not go unpunished. The International Court of Justice will follow them. They will have nowhere to run. That is what I would like to tell the people of Mbarara and the people of Western Uganda entirely. We stand with you. This issue is no longer a say of Northern Uganda where abuses were associated to a rebellion. There is no rebellion in Western Uganda. It's a good thing. So why are you torturing people there? You see, in the past they say these are supporters, collaborators of LRA, of COD. People were tortured, people were butchered in Northern Uganda, in West Nile. Some people were even buried alive. We have cases like this. These cases have been reported. Other cases have been even handled by the human rights court. The Uganda Human Rights Commission is also like a court. Yeah. Judgments have been passed, and compensations, reparations have been awarded to the people who suffered. But this have not been implemented. In Obongi, we have cases of the Lomonga massacre. People were killed in a place called Lomonga Primary School. And this massacre was reported to Uganda Human Rights Commission. It was investigated and judgment passed. Even payments were awarded to the survivors of those families, but they have not been paid.
When did this happen?
This one happened in the mid-90s, 1996, 7 there, when there was a rebellion in that area. We had the UNRF2, we had the West Nile Bank Front. Actually, the UPDF went, killed the people, and it was reported in the mass media that it was rebels that killed the people in Lomonga. But later on, when it was investigated and they proved that it was not, they accepted. They said, oh, no, now go to Uganda Human Rights Commission, and investigate. And the investigations were done. The ruling was passed that, okay, pay them. Unfortunately, these people have come to Kampala, gone back, come back, and they have given up.
And nothing has been done. I'll come to you, Francis, Captain Francis Babu. Why is there a lack of accountability, as Mr. Fungaru claims?
First of all, torture is a form of terror. Terrorism. Terrorism comes in different ways. The terrorism which is done by people who are fighting for a particular cause, and there's terrorism to non-combatants, to civilians. Right wing, left wings all over the world have had this for many years. Northern Ireland, in Basques, in the United States, they still have this terrorism. Terrorism is brought about by people who are weak. If you are weak, you terrorize others. And I'll give you a very good example. This also our culture. How do we behave ourselves? Many years ago, when I was still in the government, we said that they should not beat children. Corporal punishment should stop in primary schools. And I was the one who took it out there. I was in one particular seminar, and I said, please, when you beat these children, they will stop coming to school. Stop it. You know, you teachers, find another way. Just don't terrorize them. Let them come to school and study.
Yeah.
A teacher put up his hand, well grown-up teacher, and said, but you know, Captain, you don't know, these Africans, unless if you hit them in the head, they can never learn. Now, this is a person talking,
Yeah.
a teacher. Now, how many of our people do believe that that's the way to discipline somebody? Therefore, do we understand that word human rights? And therefore, if you have somebody who has grown up believing that people must be punished using those kind of methods, we've got to sit down and think very carefully. It is not only here that torture is carried out. And if it is carried out, and I'm happy that Mr. Fungaro is doing some investigations, and I'll be more than pleased to get the correct information once the investigation is done, and if so, there should be reparation. They should pay. These people who are coming here to look to be paid their money, I think they should be given their money. But at the end of it all, I want you to know the definition of terrorism is to terrorize somebody who cannot fight back. Civilians, non-combatants, and so on and so forth. And this is done even by governments, sitting governments. Now, even the most civilized government in the world, in Iraq, they were terrorizing people. In Syria, in different places where they've gone, in Vietnam, so on and so forth. Now, if it is happening here, it is unfortunate. And he brought a very good example of somebody who was shown, whose scars were shown on television.
Kankweza.
I think the gentleman they should look at it very carefully, and the government should come out very clearly on that issue. Is this going on? Is it bigger than what we saw? According to the honorable member here, he has got a list of people who have been tortured. There are people who claim they are being tortured. There are people who are in prison. Now we need an answer. And that answer should come, because we cannot continue being accused of issues like this. I want us also to be very careful about Terrorism. Many years ago, there was also that kind of thing, and some young people, 27 of them, went out there, and they had aim. They thought they were sacrificing. He quoted it correctly. They were the 10-point programs, and it was done. So Terrorism should not be held responsible for the people who have hijacked the revolution. You see, I look at it as, at that time, these people had a reason to do what they did. And therefore, Terrorism should remind us, and this is where I wanted to tell him, instead of how do I put it, of making it look very bad, it should be a source for us to say, listen, on Terrorism, the people went there to stop what we're talking about.
Which is happening now.
Why is it happening now?
No, I'm still telling you this. Terrorism should not be blamed. Terrorism had a reason and an aim and objective, and they did it. There were 27 of them. Some of them are no longer with us, and therefore I respect them. They have passed on. And in fact, some of the people who supported them are in FDC.
Yes.
Are you with me?
That's right. That's right.
And I wanted to tell my brother here that a lot of people who went to FDC came from NRM.
That is true.
Now, when we are talking, whenever we are talking, blame the right people. Don't blame the wrong people. Because the people who are in FDC also have got their objective and what they want to see. And what we all want to see. So, Tarehe Sita, I'm sorry, the people who went there, they believed very strongly that they were fighting against a tyrant. And they went out there and they did their job. And therefore, we must recognize them because some of them are dead. And therefore, going and dancing around their grave is not correct.
But that's what is happening
we must now respect them. If there are people within the NRM who are doing the same, I'm telling them too, please don't dance on the grave of these 27 people, those who passed on and those who are still alive, who are old. We should respect it. And therefore, I personally say we should never allow what the 27 people went for to come back again.
And I'll come to you, Mr.
So
Fungaro.
as we end, I want to make
Captain.
this point very clear. Our friends who have got human rights in Europe and in America, it came out of their culture and their religion. Where is our human? Are we copying them? Or do we understand human rights as Africans? Do we? Or we don't? We just talk for the gallery. Human rights is deeper than that. I must think about my child. I must think about myself and say, what right should my child have? And I think some of these people who are lost, who do these kind of things, they should also stop for a moment and say, wait a minute, are we doing the right thing? Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Fungaro, as we wrap up this,
there are two things I would like to say here. One, if it is rewarding people who went and fought for the right thing, the 27 people. There were other people who fought but have not been rewarded. For example, they are not even recognized. The people of UNRF led by General Moses Sall. There was a rebel group that fought. There are many of them are Rescue Front. Many of them are sick there. There is one in my constituency called Major Said Jade. Major Said Jade is sick. He served diligently. He was a very courageous and obedient person. But today, the Ministry of Veteran Affairs does not know even that such people exist. Many of them are sick, injured. They don't get access to medical treatment. Nobody sees them. Some of them have problems with payment. The UNRF has not been paid. They are due. General Moses Sall was crying in front of us one time in Parliament, and particularly in the body room of office of the Prime Minister, that we people of West Nile are not fighting for this issue. It is left like his issue alone. And many people now feel detached from General Moses Sall. That's how General Moses Sall has been reduced from a regional leader to any ordinary member of parliament of a constituency. He was viewed like a president at that time.
Yes.
But many people now are living down there. Why don't you pay them if it is recognition? Why don't you recognize them here? That's one. Number two, the issue of continuity.
Maybe he's not a fisherman.
I don't know. The issue of the issue of continuity.
No, I wanted you to stop being so tensing.
Thank you. I mean, this issue is very painful. When I see all the people like that,
Mr. Fungaro.
you see,
Yes,
the pain is so great with the people I see. They contributed to the peace you're talking about in Uganda here. Without UNRF, NRA would not have captured the government. Go to the mathematics, go to the strategic analysis, you'll find it there. But the people from the side of UNRF are not even in the government. It is only Moses Sall and suspended alone like this. Others are not there. So this is the problem. Now, the other issue which is bad is this. Impunity, the issue of impunity. Let me just leave this thing of West Nile. The case of what I saw in Isingiro is just impunity. Where the people just sit like this, what can I do? This is a general, Abel Kandeho. This is a major general. This is a major Bright Rwamerama. This is a major Rwakanuma, Steveni, Mutabingwa. They move with the guns. Not everybody in Western Uganda has guns. Where do they go? Those people are very unlucky in the sense that they don't have opposition people who can voice their issues in parliament. After the elections, they rig, and then somebody who comes here I have a colleague we work together with. He's also cited among the people who are bullying people there. He's Honorable Stephen Kangwaji. We were together in parliament there. Now, elections where a person comes out like that, where people are not allowed to vote, and when you arrive to a polling station, they tell you, it is over. Voting is ending at always, even in 2016, it was like that. Voting ends at 10, 11, everything is closed. You arrive there, the ballot papers are all collected, and they tell you voting is over, and you have voted. Somebody has voted.
Mr. Fungar, I know
this is where
we are running out
the
of
government,
time, and there is a question I want to ask you
has gone wrong.
Before we wrap
so
up this
we need reparation, and we need this thing to be documented seriously.
Yes, Mr. Fungaru, who benefits from this torture? Previously, we had His Excellency call his son his avenger, yeah. And in the case of Mr. Kankweza, who came out and said in the report that we did here at NTV, he said that he was, after being tortured, he was filmed and asked or commanded to apologize to the president and his son. Who benefits from this torture?
Temporarily, it is the President Museveni's family that benefits from this, in the sense that if they suppress the voices of dissent, people go down and their regime continues to live on, and they keep on amassing wealth and wealth. They are the ones benefiting. But these benefits are temporary. This is what I should tell them. Because it has ever happened in other places where people who are so powerful, people who are surrounded by guns, at a certain time lose this power over the ordinary and oppressed people. So we would like to tell them that this is a temporary enjoyment, even if you pass it to the next generation, like the way they are preparing to pass this power to the next generation of children and grandchildren, but it will not reach up to the grandchildren, obviously. Because of what I saw there, what is in Singiro is just people are fighting for the right to vote, not necessarily to vote opposition, but to vote a person of their choice. But you are given a list that vote so and so, vote so and so, vote so and so. A list, if your name is not there, if your candidate's name is not there, and then you have nobody to vote to. Secondly, I conclude by saying this, that the issue of human rights is a global issue. The issue of human rights is a national issue in Uganda here. All political parties must look at it seriously, because NRM itself is a victim of this. There are some people which the secretariat of NRM should have preferred to see elected to come here. But because the big shots who approve who goes and who doesn't go through, say, not you. My brother here, I think, is a victim here, you see. And my senior brother here is a victim. He's a good person, but if he's not in the good, in the list of approved people, he cannot go through. Finally, even candidates seek for godfathers in order to be protected. You must present yourself as a candidate of this big sort. And the names we got from there, which Ugandans should know, this one. There is somebody called the Toyota from that side. And there is another one called the Kudura. There is another one called the Mudogo. These are brothers, either relatives. The good thing is I never heard the name of the president himself. I also never heard the name of General Muhoozi as a person, but I heard the names of the brothers, relatives of the president, relatives of the first lady. So it is the first lady and President Museveni to discipline them, because those people cling on their coats, on their jackets, that we are the relatives of the president. We have guns. We are the relatives of the first lady. We have guns. We are untouchable. So the first lady should touch these people.
Captain.
Yes, sir.
Please.
And the president should touch them. This is the thing.
Because we have
my opinion. This is my opinion.
This human rights thing is very simple.
Yes.
Chokola banno toyagala bakikole. What you do unto others, you don't want to be done unto you. Nobody benefits out of torture. Nobody benefits out of terrorism. Whenever you have terrorism, if you succeed this time yourself, next time it will be your turn. You actually sign your own turn to come. And this is where the law of karma comes in. You torture other people, eventually you will be tortured in one way or the other. The people say, so what? No. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. So don't mistreat others, don't torture others, and therefore, let me say this, let us try and fight this abuse of human rights in this country, and the president should help us, as he has said correctly, to make sure that he gives strength to the human rights groups to make sure that they prosecute those who might have done it on their own without being ordered to do so.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming through and having this very extensive conversation about torture. And I know the conversation needs to continue and on and on and on, because change is needed. But we shall be very glad if you come back.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, right now, I want to cross over to Ivan Walunyolo, who is in Kenya, talking to the borders who are there. Ivan?
Well, thank you very much, Idris Matu, and our audience. I am coming to you from the Nkumba traffic lights here in Katavi Town Council, Wakiso District. The president yesterday made a pronouncement that border riders, the border economy shall fully be reopened today starting 6 p.m.